I was skeptical at first that this macro lens will be actually useful at first, but I realize now I missed so many shots by not having this earlier that I need to talk about this. My experience with macro lenses might be similar to yours. It was limited. I tried the macro tubes, but as you know, they turn out to be quite frustrating as you lose access to autofocus and a bit of the quality of your camera. Again, the reason why you're losing quality is because of the lens to sensor distancing. The more distance it has, the less good it is, typically for cameras. Those tools, don't get me wrong, are very serviceable, but ultimately I kind of hardly pull them out unless I really needed to because of all the issues it created for my art. As a Tamron ambassador for the last 3 months, I've had the opportunity to test the most recent lens, or the macro lens, which is the 90mm 2.8 macro, and actually it's a modern remake of the 1979 classic. Tamron, in this case, did not ask me to make any videos on the subject. They just sent me the lens, do a few tests, and that was it. But my photography changed so much because of this lens that I feel I really need to talk about this and share the news with you. This lens changed my approach to portraiture. If you're a weekend warrior, a fine art photographer, a video guy, or a wedding photographer, and you're looking into a new way of unlocking new creative capabilities, let me show you how incorporating this lens into your workflow will actually make you see differently. Seeing differently, especially in this world where there's machine learning that is pumping out content like no one cares anymore, is another element of differentiation that will separate you from just being a content machine or just a guy behind a camera to a full-fledged artist. And before I show you examples, I just want to tell you why it's just more than the macro lens. The first question you might have is, does it only do macro? Nope, it actually works in many different ways. So the first time I received this lens back in December was for portrait photography, pure and square. I shot some editorials, some headshots, some portraits, and even overheads in my studio using this lens. Since you can control the working distance with the lens, especially with the autofocus control located at the barrel here of the lens, it actually becomes a great telephoto 90mm 2.8 lens, allow you a double function of having this as a portrait lens and also this as a macro lens. Plus, this macro lens is fairly light. It's well built, especially with the number of blades inside of it. It's weighing at a 22.2 ounces for the Sony model and it's slightly heavier for the Nikon model. And if you're looking at the lens, the hood is actually quite large, but there's a reason why. It's because it actually features a really interesting feature. It has an adjustable sliding. If ever you want to control your filters, you can actually just swoop it around and you're done. So pretty innovative if you ask me, if ever you use filters, especially for macro photography. This slide basically also helps you with your working distance, which you might be asking, what the hell is working distance? Working distance is the distance between the glass and the subject. The reason why it's 90mm is because from my research, it's one of the most popular choices for macro photography. The moment that you want to get close to an object that you didn't necessarily get consent from, working distance becomes really important for you. I have in mind here like an insect. Being too close with a, let's say, focal length of 15mm being a macro will kind of disturb the animal. You can get as close to 9 inches with this focal length and get a 1:1 magnification. Some of you might complain that 9 inch is either too big or too short. That of course depends on your own preferences. No judgment. Longer is definitely better if you're dealing with a very sensitive subject, but for portrait, you kind of don't need that because you have a consent form, right? If you're a hobbyist photographer, this lens is a fantastic way to explore new creative horizons without breaking the bank. Whether you're capturing delicate details of a flower in your garden, the texture of your favorite morning coffee, or even intricate patterns of your pet's fur or your favorite shirt, this 90mm lens will open up a world of possibilities. It's just not about getting close, it's about seeing the world in a new way that you never have done before. And at this price of $699, it's an affordable entry into macro photography, which doesn't compromise on quality whatsoever. If you're a portrait guy, I personally have this obsession of filling the frame with a face or skin or details since I've started photography. Now with this 90mm macro, it's a breeze. If there's any details I want to get, I simply have to switch my focus mode and I'm done. Just take a look at this portrait of Tiffany. Well, there's almost no cropping on this portrait. It is basically as is, and I was fairly close, but not too close. Now I'm thinking of wedding photographers. Again, I'm not a very experienced wedding photographer. I have a couple a year, and that's pretty much it. Wedding photographers though, this lens is maybe a secret weapon for capturing those something borrowed, something blue, or something very special details. I mean, here I'm thinking about wedding rings, about invitations, about a whole lot of stuff that you can capture using this lens. And how about bugs and lizards and flowers? Unfortunately, I live in Canada and it's currently early March and lizards are as rare as the sun. But we do have spring bugs though. Although they're quite polite, they do need a consent form in order to photograph them. But here's one. For a video, again, I'm talking about myself here, especially for my main case, this unlocks a new capability as I can go in very close about details about products that I'm reviewing for YouTube. And speaking of products, if you're a product photographer, which I forgot to mention earlier, and you're tasked about getting details about like a breakthrough thing about this innovative new cap on the bottle, or something new, a breakthrough in SD cards that really needs a close-up shot, well, you can actually say, yes, I can do this shot. Now that we've talked about how transformative this lens is, but imagine what it can do in your hands and your capabilities. This lens is also only $699. While the competition like Sony goes for $1,100 or more, this Tamron lens can be yours for only again $699. I mean, just having this could change the range of your offering, or even either creating a new excuse for you to go out and actually get some details that you wouldn't get, and again use this as a portrait lens. The only thing missing that I regret not having is internal stabilization inside of the lens, but most cameras have IBIS or in-body image stabilization, so is this worth $400 for you? It might be in your case, in case maybe look at the Sony, but in my case, because my Sonys have all the features that I need to stabilize, it's up to you to decide. Now, if you had this in your hands, what will you shoot with this lens? Let me know in the comments below. And if you tried macro photography before, share your experiences. Again, I'm just getting started with this thing and I'd love to know what you guys actually do. And if ever it is a big challenge that I see in the comments, I actually might give it a shot. Again, this has been Evans B using the Tamron 90mm. If ever you're interested in the lens, there's a link right there below. Leave a like, subscribe, and comment if you haven't done so already, and I'll see you in the next video.